We are live, and we have a lot of breaking news in the Zoe Rosenberg trial. First of all, it is now getting global attention. The Guardian, which is based in the United Kingdom, has done an incredible in-depth article. You know, that kind of reporting, talking about the things that Direct Action Everywhere in general and Zoe Rosenberg, the defendant, specifically say are going on inside these factory farms and slaughterhouses. The fact that the Guardian covered that is really significant. So that is already, according to Direct Action Everywhere and Zoe Rosenberg, the defendant, a victory. And of course, you know, to achieve that victory of having global coverage on the conditions of animals in factory farms and slaughterhouses, this woman you're looking at here has to risk going to jail for 5 years. She is charged with 1 felony and several misdemeanors for the action she took in June of 2023. You're looking at it right here. She entered this Purdue Petaluma Poultry Slaughterhouse, and she rescued 4 chickens from a slaughter truck. You are looking at the rescue as it happened. We are providing live daily coverage from the courthouse of this case, which is finally barreling toward its conclusion. This is day 24 of this trial. And I want to go straight out to our reporter on scene. We're talking about Madhu Anderson, who is there. She's been observing what's been happening in court. Madhu, thank you. Bring us up to date. What happened today?
So, Jane, I am outside Sonoma County Courthouse right now, and I was here at 11 o'clock. The court started at 11. And Paul Picklesheimer was again asked to come take the stand to testify. But according to the prosecution and according to to Paul's lawyer, they did not receive any formal documents from the other 2 counties other than the Sonoma County. So Paul was excused for that moment and was asked to step outside the courthouse. Outside the courtroom. And the judge actually ruled against the people's. That means the judge ruled against the prosecution to force Paul to testify.
Well, that's very interesting. And for those who don't know, Paul Picklesheimer is one of the leaders of Direct Action Everywhere. And he was there that night on the outside with protesters. How do I know that Paul was there? Because I was there, because Unchained TV did a 3-part series on this entire evening called Night Action Under Cover of Darkness. So I want to play first what was happening outside the slaughterhouse. Remember, you have Zoe Rosenberg, okay, inside the slaughterhouse, rescuing these 4 chickens. And you'll see it again. This is all happening in June of 2023. And there she is, boom, opening the crate from the slaughter truck. Now, the defense says 4,000 chickens are packed into each slaughter truck approximately. She rescued 4 chickens she named Poppy, Ivy, Aster, and Azalea. You're seeing the rescue in progress. But at the same time, or that evening, later in the evening, quite possibly, because when we arrived, it was very late in the evening. At the same time, there was a protest, a demonstration outside the facility. And at the same time, it was an event that started. It started in San Francisco, in Berkeley, and then it basically went with a whole group of people on a march to the Golden Gate Bridge. And after that, everybody went up to Petaluma because Paul Picklesheimer had said at the Golden Gate Bridge, purportedly, allegedly, hey, 4 chickens were rescued. the prosecution is saying, how would he know that? If he was in Berkeley and this was happening, 40 miles north in Petaluma, this rescue of 4 chickens. So basically, I think they're trying to drag him into the conspiracy. So let me just play a little bit of what happened the night of. I'm going to put it up. California. A march organized by Direct Action Everywhere, a controversial and cutting-edge animal rights organization that's making headlines in the New York Times and elsewhere.
One struggle, one fight.
Human freedom, animal rights.
It's not entertainment.
It's violence.
It's not family fun.
It's violence.
It's not tradition.
It's violence.
Turns out DXE, as it's known, had placed a huge banner over the bridge that read, "Shut down Golden Gate Fields," the local horse racing track where 8 horses had died in just the first 6 months of 2023.
Horse racing is horse killing, and I actually grew up around horses all my life, and my family still is in this unfortunate industry, and it is based on gambling. And I remember my dad would be gambling on horses, and he would even tell me things like, well, they're going to water the track a certain way and rake it in a certain way. It makes me want to cry right now just thinking about that. You don't ever need to get on a horse's back, ever. We're going to shut this place down and we're going to keep going. Thank you.
Her wish came true with this announcement a month later.
It's an iconic horse racing track in the San Francisco Bay Area, but the owners of Golden Gate Field say the track will permanently close at the end of this year's racing season.
While horse racing proponents deny this closure is in response to the protests, DXE did gather tens of thousands of signatures demanding this horse racing track be closed. Meanwhile, back at the bridge, the long night was just getting started.
So everybody, please be calm and careful as we walk down and get in our cars.
In a surprise announcement, designed perhaps to foil any infiltrators or saboteurs, DXC organizers instructed everyone to head north some 38 miles to Petaluma.
Just park anywhere in the vicinity of a couple blocks, any direction, and then walk to the intersection, and we'll cross the street and we'll be outside the slaughterhouse to continue our action. Thank you so much, everybody.
What on earth would happen once we got there? It has to be seen to be believed. And you'll find out in the next episode. All right, so that was the place where it began, at the Golden Gate Bridge this evening, that ended up, as you saw, in Petaluma, where Zoe Rosenberg was doing her rescue. So basically, the reason why the prosecution wants to subpoena Paul Picklesheimer is that when he was speaking, and I didn't include it, but when he was speaking, he allegedly, purportedly said something about 4 chickens being rescued in Petaluma. I don't know if he said that. I don't remember every little thing that happened. But basically, that would make him part of the conspiracy, because you can see that one of the charges here is conspiracy. So correct me if I'm wrong. The reason why Paul did not end up having to testify today, and so he didn't have to basically testify against his friend, Zoe Rosenberg, the defendant, is because when court started, he was offered immunity for Sonoma County, but where he said that, back down in Berkeley, is a different county. Is that correct, Madhu?
That's correct, Jane, but that was not the only reason. Other reason was, so the prosecutor, Mr. Hobson, when he said that the other two counties they don't have the paperwork, the immunity paperwork, but Mr. Hobson insisted that he can question Paul about Sonoma County, the statements which Paul made outside the Petaluma poultry slaughterhouse during the protest that night. So the judge, at the end of this discussion, the judge actually ruled against the prosecution. The judge said Paul's statements were not they were not proper. These are the words he used. The judge used. They were not proper for co-conspiracy. So Paul was not allowed to testify.
Wow. So this is so interesting because I want to play, and I'm literally queuing this up right now as we're talking. I want to play this other event, and let me just bring it in. First, let me mute you, and let me bring it in. Let me get it. It'll take a second. We're going to present, and then we're going to, yeah, I don't know why I can't do it, but let me just get rid of this one. I think it's because I can only do one at a time. You're learning as we go. We're all learning. Just keep in mind, people, that this used to take hundreds of people and a crew of thousands with millions of dollars, and now we're doing it all on our computers. So here we go. We've got it, and I'm going to play when we get to Petaluma and we get to the slaughterhouse where Zoe has rescued these 4 chickens. This is what happened. So watch this and you will see that Paul Picklesheimer is there talking, and the prosecution wanted to use what he said, which we recorded on video, against Zoe and make it part of the conspiracy, and the judge ruled no. So this is pretty fascinating that you get to see the actual evidence. Animal rights mission under cover of darkness. Upon arriving, we were soon following groups of Direct Action Everywhere activists walking towards a chicken slaughterhouse. As we neared the location, we were greeted by a line of activists holding signs that read, "Right to Rescue." Moments later, we got a real taste of what that means.
We're here, as Sasha said, with a couple hundred activists out here to support our friends and support the chickens who are suffering unimaginable cruelty inside this slaughterhouse here behind us. We're in Sonoma County. Over 200,000 chickens are slaughtered each week.
We have a rescued chicken right here. We have a life just saved from the slaughterhouse. Thank you so much for saving her. Can you tell us anything? Did you go inside? What can you tell us?
I'm speechless right now.
You speak up.
I don't have much to say right now. I'm just speechless.
We went inside and we helped to liberate this little baby here from a truck that was going to be slaughtered very soon. There are more that are on their way out.
Wow. Well, please help us take action. Contact the Sonoma County District Attorney and ask that they prosecute the corporations and not the activists. And please share this live stream. Share this live stream. We need to get this out everywhere. We need to scream it across the world. We have more birds that have just been rescued.
Here's one.
We rescued the birds. They were going to die, and we know that they didn't want to die, so we took them out of the terrible situation.
Yeah, let's get them out of here.
We gotta get out of
As
here.
you can see, this one has blood, vomit, very sick, will barely move in my arms.
We've seen about 12 lives probably saved, 4 before we came here, another 8 while we sat here and watched them come out. And this place doesn't like it when people are here. When people are here, it diverts the trucks to different locations. And thankfully, our friends are vigilant and they watch where the trucks go. And some of our friends just saved 5 more chickens from a truck.
So there you have it. I'm going to end that now. And I'm going to bring back the panelists. wow. That was pretty incredible that we actually have a segment of what he said that basically the prosecution wanted to grill him on and didn't get the chance to do that. Is that a good summary, or correct me if I'm wrong, Madhu?
Yes, that's correct, Jane. Yeah, the prosecution wanted to get him for the statements what he made, but the judge actually even mentioned that Zoe's actions had taken place before Paul's statements outside the Petaluma poultry. That's one of the reasons. One of the other reasons, judge denied, and judge ruled against the prosecution.
Last question: are we going to have closing statements, closing arguments tomorrow? You think?
Yes, I'm not a lawyer or a paralegal. I'm just like was attending the court, and to my understanding, yes, there's going to be closing statements tomorrow. But even today afternoon, they are bringing Petaluma Poultry Allison Howlett, who works at Petaluma Poultry, who is a safety, security, environmental manager, to ask about the dye or the denaturant which the Petaluma Poultry uses for the dead chickens. The color.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. So much to talk about. I want to bring in our attorney, Justine Block. Wow. What do you make of the fact that they really wanted to bring Paul in, the prosecution, and make him testify against his will, against his friend, Zoe Rosenberg, the defendant, but it didn't happen? I guess it's a victory for the defense?
Absolutely, Jane. It is a victory for the defense that the judge didn't allow the prosecution to bring in this last minute witness to further help prove their case, which they should have proved at the beginning of. They had their opportunity at the beginning of their case to when the prosecution had their opportunity to prove felony conspiracy. They have to show an agreement that Zoe had entered into an agreement to commit a crime and an overt act. So I think what the prosecution was trying to do is scramble to get in more witnesses, but already the defense has shown a reasonable doubt and shown more importantly, the intent that Zoe had was to rescue and not to commit the crime, but to rescue the chickens from suffering.
So quick follow-up, because we want to get to our other panelists. Could this hurt the prosecution's chances of convicting Zoe of the main charge, which is conspiracy? The trespass and the tampering with a vehicle, that's not going to, I mean, even if she was convicted of that, that's not a lot of time behind bars. The big kahuna for the prosecution is the conspiracy case. Can you address that?
Sure. I think we'll know more when we see the jury instructions, how that's decided, because both the prosecution and defense handed in what jury instructions they want, and it has to be worked out. So once those are ready, I think we'll better understand where things stand as far as what the jury is going to be able to consider, and in terms of her specific intent to counter the elements of the crimes. But yes, as far as felony conspiracy, that is the most serious charge. It carries the most serious sentence. I mean, she's very young. A lifetime of a felony conviction on your record, a criminal record, is very serious. So, but yes, the other two charges you described are misdemeanors, less serious. Keep in mind, there's 2 trespass charges. So 2 trespass, the tampering, and then the more serious felony conspiracy charge.
We'll go over that when the closing arguments and the jury instructions, and then the waiting for the verdict. We have a lot to discuss, but I'd like to go to Lindsay Baker. You've been taking all this in. You've watched this from the beginning. What are your thoughts about this? First of all, the fact that we're in week 7 and day 24 involving 4 chickens. I've covered many murder trials and other serious trials that took much less time.
Well, for one thing, it's quite clear to me, at least, that the prosecutor knows in Petaluma Farms and Purdue, they know that they're on trial also for cruelty and for, what's going on behind closed doors that they're not willing to let people see. I think they are, as others have said, quite desperate. And even, I don't know, was the jury privy to the information that they were trying to bring Paul Picklesheimer in? Because the reason I'm asking that is it already puts in the jury's head, this is a conspiracy. He knew about it already. This was all planned. So to me, that's definitely something that they are trying to, implicate because they have nothing to go on. It's like now they're bringing in somebody that works there. Gee, doesn't that seem like that person has a vested interest in, presenting a picture? First of all, it's their job. So you're calling me out to say, like, my company's going to really be pissed at me. I better prove that I'm doing my job here. My job's on the line. My fellow employees are going to be turning against me.
I want to jump in there for a second. And I know, Madhu, you have to go. So we're going to release you because you've got to go back into court. Thank you. First of all, we can't say, with all due respect, Lindsay, we can't say that anybody's job is on the line. The prosecution subpoenaed this person to testify. Excuse me. And I would hazard to guess that everybody who's testifying in some way, shape, or form has a vested interest. But I definitely don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Justine, that the jury heard anything about whether Paul would testify or not, because that's a 402 hearing is what they call it, outside of the jury's presence, right? So the jury, they go out of the room while all those discussions are going on. All they know is that they're spending another several hours or whatever, or maybe they're called in later, but that this trial is dragging on and it's not happening in front of them. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's as part of a 402 evidentiary hearing that these discussions are taking place.
So yeah, we don't have to worry about the jury hearing the big battle over whether Paul would testify or not. But your point is well taken. And thank you for that.
Can I just say one more thing, not to do with that? I was there that day. I didn't go on to the protest, but I remember at the dinner table, nobody knew it, that it was the discussion at the table. We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to this protest and we're just following it. And I think that they were pretty close-mouthed about what was going on. So nobody knew what we were going there for.
Yes, and I will say you saw the two video pieces we put together, and I urge you to watch the whole thing on Unchained TV. It's called Night Action Under Cover of Darkness, and we basically just followed the evening. We followed what was happening. I had no idea. We were lucky that a friend of ours was there and had a car, so we could drive to Petaluma from Berkeley. One of the reasons that they did that, by the way, in general, and I will say this, Paul Picklesheimer gave a speech, which I could also play, where he told everybody, hey, you're here, but you should understand that you might get arrested. We don't know what's going to happen. And you have to be, if you're not comfortable with that, go home now. And I was standing right there when he gave the speech. In fact, we have it on videotape. Maybe I'll play it tomorrow or when we're waiting for the verdict. And so nobody had any idea where we were going. And it was pretty interesting. And one of the reasons they do that is that it's very well known that there are infiltrators in DXE, Direct Action Everywhere, this cutting edge animal rights group. And so if they're too predictable, what happens is that then it could turn out that law enforcement is there and will arrest them. So one of the reasons they went to the Golden Gate Bridge, first of all, they were fighting that racetrack, which ultimately did shut down, is my understanding. But everybody pretty much thought, we're going to go to the racetrack. And then they pull a last minute switch. No, we're not going to the racetrack to protest. We're going all the way up to Petaluma to protest against this slaughterhouse. So we were all surprised. We drove in the car. I had no idea where we were going. I was just running like a journalist, just rolling the camera, and you saw what we found was a protest outside Petaluma Poultry, and we invite them on anytime. Now, I want to say a couple of things before we continue, and we need to say that, we always invite all the companies on that are involved in this. We'd love to dialogue with them. Purdue Petaluma Poultry denies all cruelty allegations that have been made in court. And you can go to corporate.purduefarms.com/responsibility/animal-care. And they've called DXC and by extension, Zoe Rosenberg, who is a member of DXC, an extremist group with the ultimate goal of ending animal agriculture altogether. Something that DXC agrees with. They say, yes, we want to end animal agriculture. And they also say, for example, on this page, no crates or no cages or crates, to which DXC responds, well, what did I take these animals out of? I took them out of a crate on the slaughter truck, and here's the evidence of that. So one of the reasons why Unshade TV is calling for cameras in all slaughterhouses and factory farms is because there are these wildly differing explanations and characterizations of what's happening behind closed doors. Meanwhile, it's not just that company. This trial has really spilled out into the streets, and now there are protests against Trader Joe's, which carries Petaluma Poultry products. So let me show you the protest that happened, and Tiffany Brunelli, who is right there, was there, and she's going to talk about it on the other side.
My life is important to me.
My life is important to me.
As a chicken.
As a chicken.
It's time to listen to my screams.
It's time to listen to my screams.
I deserve to be understood.
I deserve to be understood.
Simply because I exist.
Simply because I exist.
Simply because I suffer.
Simply because I suffer.
This is my world too.
This is my world too.
We are all connected.
We are all connected.
Today I'm changing the status quo.
Today I'm changing the status quo. Chickens have the right.
Be exploited by humans.
Do not be exploited by humans.
Do not be property of humans.
Do not be property of humans.
Chickens have the right
Chickens have the right
to be rescued from these situations.
to be rescued from these situations.
To a protected habitat.
To a protected habitat.
Chickens have the right to be free.
Chickens have the right to be free.
Free to be the animals they are born to be.
Free to be the animals they are born to be.
So you were there. Tell us what was that like?
Yes, Jane, that was so moving. Even just to watch it in the video, we had an activist. She's amazing. She showed up with that chicken suit and she had her speak out planned. I think it was very effective. We had a lot of people looking over because we had the chicken costume, and it was right directly on the sidewalk in front of where they have all the pumpkins when you walk into the store. And we also had a huge television screen set up right in front of the pumpkins that had the Petaluma Poultry, the alleged chickens there, showing the conditions that they allegedly live in. And so when folks were picking out their pumpkins, they could just look up and see the screen. It was very moving. And we collaborated with the Free Billy, the protest that's been going on for years at the zoo, to get Billy and Tina, the elephants, there to sanctuary. So we had over 20 folks.
Well, they're no longer there. They're at the Tulsa Zoo, but yes, to get them to sanctuary. How many do they have? How many folks did you have at the protest?
We had over 20 people. We had the help from them, and it was a very successful demo. We had a rescue chicken there, Hope. I don't know if people saw her.
Yeah, we saw it. I tried to get the little banner down in time, but there was a rescue chicken there. And so absolutely incredible. I want to point out that Trader Joe's is suing Direct Action Everywhere and saying that they are trespassing and disrupting their business by chanting and even removing chicken products from carts. DXE is targeting products from Petaluma Poultry, alleging animal cruelty. DXE states Trader Joe's refused dialogue. This legal action follows similar move by Purdue Farms against DXE. So, and then they make a reference to the felony charges in Sonoma County. Trader Joe's case against Direct Action Everywhere heads to court on December 2nd. What's your reaction to that? And we invite Trader Joe's on anytime. We would love to dialogue with you.
Well, Trader Joe's, they're not going to silence us. We weren't, as long as at this point, as long as we're not blocking the entrances, the judge agreed. We have our Fifth Amendment right to be there.
First Amendment.
Sorry. First Amendment right to be there. So at this point, we're not going to let them stop us or slow us down.
So there you go. And that's part of this case because it's all about a company that owns the slaughterhouse and the factory farms. I want to play something else that Zoe Rosenberg, the defendant, said. And basically she's saying that she was able to get some things in her final hours of testimony that she thought were very significant.
I am done testifying. I originally took the stand a week ago today, but I am officially done. Due to doors that had been opened on cross, on redirect, I was able to discuss an investigation I had done into Hunter Lane, one of Petaluma Poultry's many factory farms. During that investigation, I observed dead birds amongst the living, birds crowded together living in feces, sick birds who were unable to get to food and water, etc. While I was there, I rescued 2 really ill chickens, Vincent and Petunia, and I rushed them to get urgent medical care, and I was finally able to share their stories in court. The prosecution once again tried to grill me on why I didn't rescue more birds. On redirect, I explained that I hoped law enforcement would get involved because they have the resources to help all of the animals who are suffering to address the root of the problem.
All right, let's go to Michael Fujimori, a member of the Captain Paul Watson Foundation. What's your reaction to the fact that she was able to actually tell the jury what her experience was undercover at one of these factory farms that supplies, Purdue-owned factory farm that supplies chickens to the slaughterhouse?
Yeah, I feel definitely that was a plus for the defense because it showed, other animals suffering that hadn't been presented in evidence beforehand. So in, being able to talk about that is really a plus for the defense and a blow to the prosecution.
Now, I don't know that they were able to show photos of those farms. That would be interesting to know, but I don't have that information. But Annie Abram, also with the Captain Paul Watson Foundation, do you think that just talking about it, she purportedly was able to say, I was in there, I rescued 2 chickens, Vincent and Petunia, and my experience was that there was a lot of animal suffering.
I truly appreciate the judge allowing that because, of course, the more stimulation, the better. Visual would be obviously much more impactful for people to really see because that is what animal agriculture does. They hide behind the walls. They take them away to cities, urban areas where people are not populated in a way where they could encounter and see the conditions, the horrors that happen behind the slaughterhouses, what they do to the animals. And it's hopeful, but I certainly hope that they would allow more of these visuals to be seen, more of these testimonies to come forward, as these are the proofs that drives every compassionate heart. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This is the famous line from Dr. Martin Luther King. What happens here when we're silent about the most vulnerable, then we are going to go back in time into what we've achieved to accomplish child labor laws, child abuse laws, women's rights, men's. I mean, there's so many things that we had to officially make laws to protect from our own human race. We need to do it to the animals. It's time. It's time to protect the most vulnerable of all, even beyond children. This is beyond disgusting. What you see here
The
is
trial of
something that
Zoe
is hidden.
Rosenberg, a 23-year-old UC Berkeley undergrad who faces 5 years in prison for rescuing 4 chickens from a slaughterhouse in Sonoma County. And this is day 22 of the trial, and it's characterized by wildly differing interpretations of what's happening inside slaughterhouses and factory farms in California, with the activists saying they've tried to report criminal animal cruelty over and over again for years without a single investigation from law enforcement, with the companies saying they have the highest animal welfare standards. So my nonprofit streaming network, Unchained TV, just wrote an editorial suggesting let's solve these differing characterizations of the same thing by having cameras in all factory farms and slaughterhouses in California. And it's not as crazy as it sounds. In England, in Israel, and in Spain, they already require surveillance cameras in all slaughterhouses. So I feel like it has to be broadcast to the public, otherwise it wouldn't be effective. What do you think about the possibility of having cameras, given that these trials keep happening here in California?
Yeah, I think it's shameful that folks are just trying to expose an industry that provides a ton of, I mean, this is the food that we eat, right? We're not talking about some tangential industry that's doing some niche kind of work. We're talking about an industry that provides a massive amount of food to the masses. And so it's interesting that a couple of the places you can't film are in prisons and in slaughterhouses. I think that speaks a lot to both, right, of the conditions of both. And so I personally support the ability for us to have more transparency. I think that we've dramatically underfunded intentionally, especially at the federal level, food inspections and oversight. I think a lot of lobbying has a lot to do with that. And we would contend with a lot of lobbying here if we push for legislation that push for any kind of transparency, but especially cameras. But there's definitely something that I'm certainly willing to look into, and I think it's something that would require a movement, because I think that it would require a lot of folks to be able to speak up on behalf of the animals beyond those that are already doing it by trying to expose these industries. But you've seen sometimes even drone shots just outside of facilities, these big slaughterhouses and cattle, and just kind of the behavior and the conditions that they're under, let alone those that are brave enough to sneak cameras inside. And so I think this industry does need to be exposed, because there's a reason why they don't want us to see it. Think about any other kind of aspect of our food industry. They don't hide it from us. They don't hide how they harvest the corn or the tomatoes. They don't hide how they make, Ritz crackers or, Oreo cookies, right? They don't need to hide that. Even if those foods may not be necessarily healthy for you, they're not, they're still showing you how they make Coca-Cola, whether it's healthy for you or not. So it's not a matter whether it's healthy for you. It's a matter of what's happening inside, in the darkness. And so whenever you get, we just have the volley, whenever you can bring light to the darkness, that's a good thing. And so I support that.
Woo!
So, okay, that video, we're going to remove it. And apologies for the difficulty in rolling it initially. Again, I'll just say, you get to see behind the curtain. This used to take millions of dollars and hundreds of people, and now we can do it all on our computer. So sometimes we'll hit some bumps. But I want to get a round robin reaction on that fact that now, as a result of this trial, and I went and asked him about this at an assembly session that was happening at UCLA, we have a California assembly member saying he's willing to look into the possibility of slaughterhouse and factory farm cameras, Lindsay Baker.
I think that's amazing. I think, if we can get other legislators to also support this, we're going to have a good chance of people actually seeing what's going on. And even if they do so-called choose to eat meat, they should know what's going on with their food supply. I think everyone would want to know.
What I'm seeing here is really the start of a massive cultural divide. You have, on one hand, you have the law enforcement officer who went there and responded to this incident for which Zoe is charged, and he is referring to the animals as products. And he testified, I wouldn't interact with these products because of contamination risks. And then on the other side, you see these protests where people dressed as chickens say, chickens have a right to live. Chickens have a right to exist. Chickens are not inanimate objects. Are we at the start of a cultural revolution when it comes to industrialized animal agriculture, or are we even in the middle of it, Michael Fujimori?
I think we're at the start of it, because I think that people are beginning to wake up, and I think that for example, there are more and more vegan products at the supermarket. That's a big indicator that people are changing their views of food, for example. And I think that if your idea of having cameras in slaughterhouses and factory farms becomes reality, that will be a big tipping point, because people will be able to see exactly what's going on behind the scenes of how they make our food. Like Paul McCartney said one time, right? If slaughterhouses had glass walls, everybody would be vegetarian or vegan.
Very interesting commentary. Briefly, what do you think, Annie?
I think it's wonderful. The idea you brought up about having cameras, accountability is essential everywhere we go. I mean, isn't that the law when we do any kind of work? The ethics and accountability is essential. And once that happens, the heavily weighted psychological derailing of characters of people who speak about the animals, people who expose the truth, will not be as powerful by the industry. And that is essential. We need the cameras. We need them now. Yesterday.
All right. Well, excellent.
you.
So we're on our way, at least that, I wasn't sure what the reaction was going to be. I was pleasantly surprised that this assemblyman, who was known to be an animal lover, was open to it, because there are other times where animal activists go in to various hearings and they are completely shut down. And we have many examples of that. You wanted to say something, Justine?
Yes, in terms of the round robin closing remarks, I wanted to say something while you're on the subject of the assembly member Kalra at the hearing, bringing up that he was receptive to this legislation. I think that's a really big deal. I was at the hearing personally and really pleased to see that he said he would consider looking into the legislative proposal as far as cameras in the courtroom. I do think an important component of that, though, would be what would be done with the footage if there were cameras in the slaughterhouses. What would be done as far as enforcement? Because we still have this lacking enforcement of the animal cruelty laws that are on the books in California. So I think we still have that missing step, that missing link, and what can be done under current law to push for more enforcement. And then if there are cameras in slaughterhouses, what would be done with that footage by authorities to further facilitate enforcement of the animal cruelty laws?
Excellent point. And one of the reasons why I said this footage has to be broadcast to the public is that you're absolutely right. I don't think there's ever been really an enforcement of existing animal cruelty laws at these giant factory farms and slaughterhouses ever across the board in California, which is the 5th largest economy in the world. So I think we could set the standard for the rest of the nation by having cameras that anybody can see, a live feed, and we'll put it on Unchained TV. We'll have a whole category and just play it because people need to see it. We are in a state of collective denial as a culture about what happens to, for example, the 140,000 chickens that are killed every minute on planet Earth, the 200 million chickens that are killed every day, the 75 or 80 billion chickens that are killed every year on this planet, accounting for something like 90% of all animals or more killed. So if people stopped eating chickens, the number of animals killed for food would radically drop. So this is an extraordinarily historic issue, which is why I say, everybody, please share this out. We are a 501c3 nonprofit news network. We are sending it out to every platform we can. We are trying to share it as much, but we need the help of the public. If you share it out, everybody on this panel shares it out, then we can reach more people, because we don't want to be in an echo chamber where we're just talking to people who already agree with us, which are namely vegetarians and vegans. We want to reach out to those who haven't really thought about this. I'll tell you, people are shocked when you mention that, for example, I had a friend who said to me, wait a second, you're telling me that they sell the chickens involved in this criminal trial at Trader Joe's? Are you kidding me? Like, complete shock. And again, we invite Trader Joe's on anytime to dialogue. We would love to. We've mentioned that Trader Joe's is suing Direct Action Everywhere, and that case goes to trial or to court on December 3rd. So there we are. Final thoughts. I think we can include Tiffany Brunelli now for final thoughts. And remember, tomorrow is perhaps the biggest day. We expect closing arguments. And for all we know, they could come back with a verdict tomorrow night. I mean, it could happen. There's very famous trials where the deliberations go 45 minutes. I believe the O.J. Simpson case, it was a very, very short, extremely short deliberation. So stay with Unchained TV as we cover this trial. And once again, I can tell you, you can download Unchained TV on any cell phone. We're free. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. You can watch it on any TV, smart TV with streaming devices, and you can also watch it at unchained.tv. So it's going to be a huge day tomorrow, and I hope all my panelists come back. Final thoughts, Tiffany Brunelli.
Yeah, I'm just nervous myself, thinking that there could be a verdict tomorrow or very soon this week. I can't even imagine how Zoe and the defense and everyone else is feeling. And we do have some, DXC Los Angeles has some events planned to go around the verdict, probably the following weekend, depending on what the verdict is. We have stuff planned. So very
right. And, you know, I want to say, Tiffany Brunelli, the face of activism, you don't strike me as a radical extremist. You're a former law enforcement investigator who found out about what's happening in factory farms in general. And you said, basically, I have to do something. Is that correct?
Yes, Jane, it was your Unchained. You came across my feed before I was even vegan. And I saw it was the day that the Supreme Court ruled about the pigs can't be kept in the gestation crates sold here in California, the products. And it really got me thinking. So yeah, it changed my life. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm thrilled. Okay. Lindsay Baker, final thoughts.
I just want to say that, you know, the one thing that I just wanted to bring up was they're saying, according to the article at The Guardian, that this is a threat to the food supply. It's hardly, 4 chickens are hardly a threat to the food supply, but animal agriculture is, because how long can this go on? We all know the statistics of what's happening, how it's using up the land. So, you know, I think it's the other way around.
Interesting. Thank you. Final thoughts. Annie Abram of Captain Paul Watson.
Yes, I agree with Lindsay. The truth is, we can look at Amazon rainforest as an example. We do this in the oceans, we do this on land, and exposing the truth is an obligation, an ethical point. It's not an option. We need to see and we need to prosecute the crimes. It's terrible. When I learned the truth, I went vegan. People, wake up, see the truth. Where it is facing the sixth mass extinction, and the number one cause is not fossil fuel, it's animal agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well
Michael
said.
Fujimori, your final thoughts.
Yeah, Jane, as this long trial begins to wind down, I have a few thoughts. I don't believe the prosecution has proven their case, even though I know final arguments are not completed. But am I allowed to like predict?
Sure, go ahead.
If I had the crystal ball right now, I'm going to say that she's going to be found not guilty on the felony conspiracy charge. However, the jury may want to make a compromise and convict her of the lesser misdemeanor charges, trespassing and vehicle tampering. But overall, I think this would be seen at the end of the day as just a complete waste of time and money. And I think that would be a win for the animal rights movement.
All right. Well, we'll see. I think that's a pretty good guess. But like I have always said, you never know with a high profile case what the outcome is going to be. I'll give you a quick example. Casey Anthony, I think you probably all remember that case. Everybody said it was a slam dunk for the prosecution. Everybody, pretty much. I was one who raised the question. I didn't think the prosecution's opening statement was very good. They accused her of being a liar. And what did they find her guilty of? Lying. But she was acquitted of murder. Total shock to people. So you never know what is going to happen with a high profile criminal case. Final thought. Did we get everybody? I think we did. Okay. My final thought is be back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm nervous. And I have to say, I've met Zoe Rosenberg several times. She is like, I want what she's having because she doesn't seem nervous. And I'm nervous after covering this for 24 days. She has a certain steeliness, since she was a young child, she's identified because of a lifelong illness with sick animals, particularly sick chickens. She has a chicken rescue that she runs with her veterinarian mom. And she is just laser focused on getting the word out. She told The Guardian, well, if I'm acquitted, that's okay. But if I'm convicted and then we win on appeal, it could set case law. So I'm cool with that. And, I have to go back to Tiffany, to Justine, our attorney, on that. I was just so taken by that. She's like, well, if I get convicted and I have to do 5 years behind bars, we'll be appealing and maybe we can set some legal precedent. Can you weigh in on like the significance of that? Oh, apologies. There you go.
She's a brave advocate for the chickens. She's putting her liberty and her health on the line. And I think it's really noble and important for the bigger movement. She sees the bigger picture here.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Share out this feed and mark your calendars. You can even put an alarm on your phone. Tomorrow is going to be a huge day. I really urge you to join us at 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. We are getting close to the finale in this case. And I want to say thank you for being part of history.